the shadows, bound for the gallows, a dead man walking, till love came calling. Rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. 6 feet under, I thought it was over, and answered a prayer, the voice of a savior. Rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. All at once, I came alive, this beating heart, these open eyes, the grave let go, the darkness should have known.
To see all of you today, and especially our wonderful guest, Leigh, who will be our speaker today. But before we get to Leigh, I would like to introduce you to our newest foundation sponsor for 2021, Whitney Bulbrook, who is with Carolina Ventures Mortgage. And she's with us today. And Whitney, if you would unmute yourself, I'd love for you to say a few words to us.
Oh, sure. Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that. So yes, my name is Whitney Bulbrook, and I am the owner of Carolina Ventures Mortgage here in Chapel Hill, and I'm one of the foundation sponsors this year. So I just wanted to say hello and introduce myself. I am a local broker, and we are able to offer your buyers a really quick turnaround on closings. I can do a same-day pre-approval and close your loan in 15 business days, which is starting to be even more important with this market that we have going on. So I just wanted to say hello and thank you for your time. I think Ashley here has a little flyer included with a bit of information about how we do those 15-day closings and how we can help you get your buyers to the table even faster and more smoothly. So please feel free to reach out with any questions. I am very fast on responses and happy to help you.
Thank you so much. And we so appreciate your sponsorship. And I do want to remind everybody that our sponsors are really important to us. And when you see them, thank them and show them your support. Now, today for this meeting, I'm going to ask that you all please use the chat feature for questions and answers only. And we're going to try to get to as many of your questions as time allows. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. And now on to our main event. Our speaker today is Leigh Brown, and she's an international sales and motivational speaker who happens to also be hilarious. She describes herself as an almost inappropriate but still family-friendly speaker, and she is one of the top-selling realtors in the Charlotte, North Carolina real estate market. With the 2020 launch of One Community Real Estate, Leigh continues her mission to support and develop realtors who are both leaders and advocates in their own communities, while she's still striving to serve buyers and sellers as their realtor advocate. She's in the RPAC Hall of Fame ×3, and high five if you know what that is. Leigh says, "I'm a wife, a mama with 3 cats available for adoption, a runner, a singer, and a pianist who enjoys cooking, gardening, and needlepoint." She says, "Yes, I'm an old Southern woman, a child of God and a follower of Jesus, trying to get through life one mistake at a time. If you haven't met her already, I think you're going to enjoy meeting this delightful lady. Please welcome Leigh Brown."
Thank you, Jessica. It's so good to see my friends here, and I'm glad for those of y'all that have your cameras on, and the rest of y'all, I'm sure you're eating or running the vacuum or something. But I'm grateful that you chose to spend this time today with your association, which is trying to help you in the weirdest market we've ever seen. And before we talk about the weird market, Whitney, thank you for being a sponsor. And guys, I know you already have favorites when it comes to your vendor list, but always consider giving a shot to people who are willing to sponsor the association, because that's a level up from what everybody else does, because it means she's investing in y'all getting better. So Whitney, double high five and thank you for being here today. So I am going to try to monitor chat as I go. I'm pretty good at monitoring it. How about we don't tell war stories in it though, just tell me questions and things I could possibly help you with. We're also going to go into this with the Leigh Brown mantra of 2021, which is be kind, be cool, and be gracious. Because a lot of people have their nerves on high alert right now. Your blood pressure is through the roof, and this market is making you probably not the best realtor version of yourself sometimes. Would y'all agree with me on that? You can raise your little hand in the window or in your participant box if you feel like this is making things odd. So I'm a 21-year realtor. I've seen good markets. I've seen the shit market that was the recession, and that's a technical term. If some of y'all are delicate, then we're probably going to have a hard time today. I'm just going to full disclosure tell you that, especially after watching Carolina not even show up and get smacked by Marquette last night. That did not help my blood pressure either. I'm just going to tell you, because I did graduate from Carolina, and sometimes I admit that, but today I've had a hard time. Anyway, this market is not good, and there's not an end in sight. And when there's not an end in sight, we have to figure out how to be the best version of ourselves and develop some strategies to help our clients win. But at the center of everything, guys, and I can't stress this enough, we cannot let our own relationships fray. Because in this market, there's not a one amongst us who could handle every seller. There's not a realtor amongst us who could handle every buyer. And until we get our minds back in that space of abundance instead of this mindset of scarcity, which has come across a lot of agents, it's going to be hard to push through. So my biggest challenge to you every single day is that you get up and say, you know what? Houses are selling and I've got to figure this out. And if you think that there is nothing to sell, open up the MLS and say, oh, there are listings. I just didn't get one. Okay, great. Oh, there's buyers that I see contracts. I didn't win one. Okay, great. We have to develop solutions instead of negativity. It's just not going to help us overall. So I'm probably going to step on your toes today. Do I have your permission to step on your toes and hurt your feelings today? Because I was going to anyway. So I just like to ask permission first because it makes it slightly less painful for you. So we're going to dive right in. And I did make a few slides because I know realtors like to look at pictures. And of course, we're going to talk about multiple offers today, also known as bidding wars, also known as, frankly, the lack of control, friends. And that's part of what's making this so hard for so many realtors. You used to have a good handle on how to get things done, and now everything is upended and changing every 2 seconds. So first of all, let me just tell you that you're not alone. And if there's one thing that I'm discovering about realtors, it's that they're a little surprised to find out that the whole country is experiencing this, which I on the Clubhouse, which is my latest addiction. I don't know how many of y'all are on there. I put Cub in there, which might be the biggest mistake I've ever made because he now knows how addictive it is to hear conversations again. But anytime a realtor speaks, they say, well, I don't know what's happening in your market, but in my market, there's no inventory. Okay, so that's our baseline. This sucks for everybody everywhere. All right, so we cool with our baseline? All right. So let's remember that if it sucks, we have to get back to the code of ethics. Everything in real estate has to hinge on the code of ethics. Why? Because that's supposed to be the one thing that pulls us all together, all 1.44 million of us. We're everywhere. Why are we letting this go to the wayside right now? Fear is letting this go to the wayside. And I get that fear. Even our top producing agents are watching their numbers fall, which, I mean, let's be honest, top producers hate to see their numbers fall. Why? Because pride comes into play. Okay, so first of all, we can fix all of that by stop bragging about your damn volume. That's got to stop. Do y'all realize how much you hurt yourselves online when you say, I sold 811 houses last week. I am #blessed. Every time you talk about how many houses you've sold, you're telling people that you're made of money. And you're also telling people that that's what matters to you most. And my challenge to you is that that's not even who you are. Because I know a lot of y'all personally. And you do this business not for that big number to brag about, but you do it to get a successful outcome for your buyers and sellers. So what if we get back to that messaging on the balance, that what we're doing is seeking a way for our buyers to succeed. We're seeking a way for our sellers to have a good outcome. But look at what we're posting online, y'all. How many realtors are saying, I can't win, I can't get anything, I can't win from my buyers, I'm tired of writing offers. How many times do we say the word I in the course of a day? It's a little tiresome. That letter of the alphabet has got to be wore out right now. So let's think differently. We know what the golden rule is, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And that's getting frayed right now in a really wild inventory situation, but it is how the code of ethics was started. I start and end every transaction with my buyers and sellers with the golden rule. And there's a reason for that, because it's going to help me avoid some of the bad practices that are in the market. So as we think about best practices, practices that need to get buried and practices that we can build on, at the core of everything, we should, as realtors, be bound by the code of ethics. And I say this because a lot of realtors say, I subscribe to it. You subscribe to a lot of things that you don't read or look at. You get probably Forbes magazine, Money magazine, or you might even get the Realtor magazine, and there it sits beside the potty in the powder room until you're bored, and there it sits. No, we have to think about the code of ethics as something that surrounds us at all times, that we are bound by it. This has to get back to the center of who we are as realtors. And yes, it's going to be difficult, but it's going to allow us the chance. Oh, my slide's not presenting. Pat says I didn't do something right. Hang on a minute. Let me stop and reshare. Were y'all not able to see my slides? Somebody tell me, could y'all see anything when I opened it up? What do you see on your screen? Anything?
Yeah, we can see it. You just didn't start the show.
Oh, I wasn't going anywhere. I'm just talking, Keith.
Oh, well, I can see. We can see your slides, but you didn't start it. You didn't start it.
Oh, hang on. So all you've had is 2 slides. You've had this one and this one. Did y'all see both of those?
I don't see anything right now. It's dark.
Why are we not seeing anything?
Yeah, Leigh, it's dark.
Okay, well then let me. I wasn't showing you anything really, but let me just open it up again, so y'all can look at it, because I know y'all like to look. Now that's not right.
It was working before you thought you fixed it.
Damn it. I shouldn't have listened to Pat. Pat, you are bad news today. Look, y'all,
we tell them that all the time.
we say it with love though, right, Keith?
Yeah, we do. We do.
Right, there we go. All right. And Shazam. Are we back now? Y'all see?
Nope.
I did not break this. Why does this work for everybody except Orange Chatham? I'm gonna say it's got something to do with Cub. Y'all can't see anything for real?
A black
It's
screen.
a dark screen, a black screen. Yeah.
So I'm gonna, let's see. I've tried to open it twice now. I'm gonna email this over to you, Cub, because it's just some little pictures. How about that? And then he can throw it up on his side as a hostess with the mostess. See, because we're realtors, we find the workaround. So anyway, back to our code of ethics. I think we would all agree that it's going to be a tricky time. And when it's going to be a tricky time for a while, each of us is going to have to elevate so that the people around us will elevate, because around us right now, we do have fellow members that are not doing things as ethically as they probably could. Would y'all agree with that? And when that happens, y'all know what we have to do, right? We are a self-policing profession. If you do not turn in people who are doing things incorrectly, then there's not going to be any way to stop it. We have to get better at this because there is no alternative to it. All right, so I tried again because I couldn't help but try again. It says I am screen sharing, but y'all don't see anything.
Now. Yep, we see it.
It's working now.
Okay, well then I'm not going to jinx anything. But anyway, I will tell y'all that I bring this up with every buyer and every seller. This graphic and a lot of the other graphics, you guys are more than welcome to have these and stick them into your listing presentations and your buyer consults, because this is how we start to train our buyers and sellers and our neighbors that they should demand more. Until we get them there, they're not going to see that, because there is still this proclivity to hire your brother-in-law's best friend's sister because she just got her license and they said to, and the consumer has not yet figured out that skill and competence should actually outrank likability. But the consumer public still goes for likability first. Well, you can be likable and knowledgeable and competent. Wouldn't y'all agree? Of course you would. So let's think about this. The first thing I want to think about multiple offers in 3 different phases. And the first phase we'll think about is the before the multiple offers happen phase. Of course, there are benefits to the COVID era and to the low inventory crisis. Would y'all agree there have been some improvements to our system? I love no children at showings. Whoop, whoop. whoop, I love not having little people touching everything, wallering around on somebody else's bed and playing with their toys. Wouldn't y'all agree that's a good thing? As long as realtors abide by that very basic guideline of our COVID compliance rules. And frankly, that should have been that way all along, because you can't keep an eye on them. So look at this agent and her clients. Look how nicely they are behaving according to the COVID rules. They are all masked up in somebody else's house, even though it's obviously vacant. And they are not covered up by 12 other people, because we're not doing overlapping showings right now, which is a perk. I like having no overlapping showings. But the challenge of that is, of course, the second something hits coming soon, it completely blocks up. So you and your clients can't get in if y'all don't book a slot immediately. And some of y'all are super proactive. You pull a slot while you can, and then your clients say, well, we're not available. And what you want to say is, then I guess y'all ain't buying a house, but y'all are nice, and you don't say that to them. And so then you're trying to work a deal with the listing agent. And then who do we get mad at? We get mad at the listing agent. All right, let's be real here. It's not the listing agent's fault if they're following rules and you couldn't get in. So coming unglued on each other, not helping the situation. So if you're the listing agent, think about how you can work with the buyer agents in your market in an effective way. Can you shorten the non-overlapping showings? I've taken mine to 15 minutes, y'all, and I know that feels aggressive to the buyer agents, and they do call and fuss, and I say, listen, I'm trying to make as many slots as possible. You might have to move faster, but this is the market that we're in. And so I'm trying to create more space for more buyers so that we can make sure that as many buyers as possible have an opportunity to see it. If you have not updated your showing time to stop the overlapping showings, please do so, because there are buyers that are so COVID nervous, they won't even go near the house if another human is near it. Some buyers don't give a rip. They'll walk in on everybody. Because one thing we should actually all remember in dealing with this time frame, and remember, be kind, be cool, be gracious, we have this very wide spectrum of COVID people. We have some on this end that still believe we're all going to die and we're going to be piled up along the sidewalk like in The Walking Dead. And we have some on this end that say there never was a COVID. It's all a conspiracy. We all know the reality of everything is that it lies somewhere in the middle, where we do have something that's very serious we should be paying attention to, but we can actually operate safely if we're smart about it, right? And so when you think about it, your clients are going to be on both ends of the spectrum. You as a realtor have to bring them back. That means you as the realtor have to work with your other agents in the market and find ways to cooperate. So I know that that's a frustration, but I'm going to suggest to you that when you have your initial buyer consultation, that you lay the land out for them before they ever come near the multiple, before they ever come near a listing at all. I'm letting mine know. And I do all my consultations by Zoom, by the way. So the minute somebody reaches out, hey, we want to see this house, we got your name from this person, whatever their reason is for coming to me, I say, I'm going to send you a Zoom link. Here's the 2 times I have available. When can you Zoom with me so we can chat? Why do I do it by Zoom? Because first of all, that's fastest. It's the most efficient way to do it. And the third one is, after I ask them, hey, is it okay if I record this so y'all will have the notes for later? They always say yes. Now I've got it recorded so that I'm protecting myself for E&O purposes down the road. Always be cognizant, y'all, of the fact that there are people out there who would drag you and everybody related to you down if they felt the necessity. So anyway, in that Zoom call, I'm going over the code of ethics. I'm going over what's happening with showings. And I tell them we gonna get 15 minutes if we're lucky, if we get the chance to see it at all, because many houses are selling during the coming soon period. We'll talk about that in 1 second. And so I'm letting them know you got to have your running shoes on. We are not dallying. We are going to bring a list of things that you need to see in the house. And you can take your little cell phone and snap 5 photos so you'll remember it later, but we're going to have to hustle. And when I tell you we've got a 3 o'clock, you're going to have to ask for a lunch break and scoot over here at 3 o'clock. And if you're a nurse who's on the ER in surgery, you're going to have to let me be your 3 o'clock, and I'll bring my camera with me. Just a full disclosure thing, y'all, if you or your clients are going to make photos in that home, who should you alert first? You should alert the listing agent, because you are actually in violation if you're taking photos and video in somebody else's home without permission. So make sure that you're telling them. I know that almost every agent I know will just say, well, that's fine, do whatever you want to do. But I want to make sure that I am operating up here Why? Because if we want the rest of the market to elevate, we have to elevate ourselves first. So think about the showing practices that you can implement. From an open house standpoint, I'm seeing in the Charlotte market, probably something you're seeing in yours. Agents now, instead of setting the overlapping showings, will make the opening day open house. And so you're going to have open house. These buyers are lined up out the door. They're all social distance on their dots down the sidewalk. But you know the problem with that? The neighbors are mad as a hive of hornets because they can't get in or out of their driveways and the streets are clogged. So if you're going to be the listing agent with these open houses, please, for the love of all that's holy, contact all the neighbors and say, hey, we're doing this, so that you don't make us all look bad. I got to remind y'all of something I forgot to mention. Whatever you personally do reflects on all of us. Whatever I do reflects on everybody in your market, because all realtors are painted with the same brush. So if you're going to be the agent who does the first day as an open house and you've alerted all the neighbors, what if you sent that notification to all of the buyer agents who are lining up with their clients to come out there, and you said, I've already alerted the neighbors, but please don't block driveways? Wouldn't that be a nice communication to get from a listing agent, so that you as a buyer agent don't feel like you're walking into a troublesome scenario? So set the stage really well right at the beginning. Sonara, I'm sorry, friend, I don't want to butcher your name, but James, I can pronounce, does the take photo or video at a showing with permission, right? So you got to remember that we're in somebody else's home. The reason I get permission for me or for my clients to take photos is that that person could then go post it on social media, and now they've put somebody else's house on social media. You want the listing agent's permission first, and we're going to obviously tell that listing agent, please make sure the seller's cool with this. Listing agent's going to tell you yes, but this is definitely a CYA moment for all of us, because we are under increased scrutiny on every front. So that's a great question to ask. So what all of this boils down to is that we've got to get better at communication prior to the multiple offer scenario. How can you as a listing agent set your fellow agents up for success? How do you communicate with your buyer professionals? The flip side of that is the biggest frustration I think we've all seen in the market, which is the listing shows up as coming soon. Looks like it's a week until showing start. Your buyer's all prepared. You've pulled a slot. And then before Friday comes, it's under contract. And then your buyers come unglued because they say, we never had a chance. So here's what's happening. Then you've got, Jessica's making the point that if you've got the MLS allowing live showings, permission is given by the listing agent. I'm just going to suggest that if we're all going to elevate, we take our game up a notch, and that you specifically ask. I specifically ask y'all, not because I don't trust the implicit permission, but because of what I just said with the whole social media piece where you don't know what they're going to do next. I'm just going to go the one extra step because I'm trying to get here, right? So anyway, you do have that implicit permission, but take it up a notch. And by the way, the implicit permission is usually for the agent to FaceTime their clients and not for the clients to go spreading it around their networks, because they might say ugly things. I should remind you all of that. Some of the stuff that gets out on social media of the photos that you took in somebody else's house are ugly. Oh my God, I can't believe this room full of dolls. What is wrong with these people? Probably not going to help your position or your professional reputation in the marketplace. But and by the way, I should mention this. If y'all are in that hateful Facebook group, Bad MLS Photos, you need to get out of there, because that's a nasty, nasty space full of agents that are saying ugly things about a place somebody lives. It makes me embarrassed and shamed every single day that realtors would take the photos of somebody's largest financial instrument and then go poke holes at it. It's not a good look. But anyway, back to this whole listings and deadlines and coming soons. I will tell you that's one way I'm winning with my buyers. I talk to them during the consultative time. One of the ways we can win is if you're willing to submit a sight unseen offer of this house before it ever hits the market. That's one way that I've been winning over and over. And I understand other buyer agents get mad because the house sells before it hits the market. Listing agent by law has to present all offers. Is that a challenge of the coming soon period? It is, but it also is an opportunity for your buyers if they're willing to buy sight unseen. Not every buyer is. And I'll tell you that I'm still running into multiple offers in the sight unseen period. And it's really just getting ugly. I will read you a text that I got last night. These are some buyers that lost multiple offers during coming soon. And we dropped in what we felt was a pretty strong offer. And she said, I guess we're going to have to sell a kidney to get a house. And I wrote her back and I said, you need to hush, because that's going to be the next trend if you say that out loud on the Facebooks. And she said, well, I only have one left, but my husband has a spare. And I was like, oh my God. And that's what it feels like to our buyers, right? They are getting scared by the market. They don't know that they're ever going to win. And that's one of my fears as a professional, is what's going to happen with our FHA, VA, USDA, low down payment buyers who keep getting hammered by cash offers, by giant down payment offers, by people who have somebody to back them. So that's where I'm looking for ways to win in that before we get into a bidding war scenario. If they can stomach it, that's their chance, y'all, because you know you're going to have 50 offers on the day it hits. If there's 3 in the pre-period, you have a better shot at it. But again, the buyer's got to understand the risk of due diligence and the risk of everything else that's entailed. This all goes back to communication, right? So I will say that in that communication time, before we're in that bid war, before you've written your offer, the biggest thing you can do is call the listing agent. And on behalf of all listing agents that have ever lived, please call us on the phone. The fact that offers come in cold, no text, no phone call, they just show up in my email. I'm having to scan my spam folder every day, and I find offers in there, because if I don't know you and you're not in my phone and you've got this giant attachment filled email, it's going to go to spam. How can I, as a listing agent, do a fair job to you and your buyers if you didn't even freaking pick up the phone? And I love the excuse I get from agents. They're like, well, I figured you were busy. Well, do you want your buyers to win or not? I mean, come on, call me. It's a professional courtesy. Hey, Leigh Brown, did you get my offer? I emailed it to you at 11:57. So please check your spam if you don't have it. I appreciate that more than y'all know. And many agents do. And here's the spoiler alert. When I'm presenting 27 offers to a seller, and of the 27, 4 of them picked up the phone, oh, I'm going to tell my seller, hey, these 4 agents actually picked up the phone and called me. That makes them a slightly better bet. Y'all have to realize that you are part of what can help your buyers win when you exhibit the professionalism that's up here. So thinking about that, let's get into where I'm going to tick y'all off. We have got to do a better job at fair housing, period, end of discussion. And this is the actual language from Standard of Practice 10 in the Code of Ethics, where it says provide equal service to whom? All clients and customers. Why am I bringing this up? Well, friends, there is a practice out there in multiple offer world that has given me so many blood pressure spikes. I can't even tell you. And I'm going to tell y'all how angry I am about this in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. But first off, let me show you who the protected classes are when we're talking about fair housing. Some of y'all have forgotten fresh corn. Familial status. What does that mean? I'm representing a married couple. Red alert, familial status. Race. How many of y'all are seeing photos of buyers submitted to sellers? Look how cute my little people are. They can probably guess race or in the ballpark with them. Equal opportunity, right? That means what you do for one, you do for all. Sex, gender, all of those little pieces. Now, of course, gender identity is not included in the HUD classes, but it is included in the Realtor Code of Ethics. So you need to remember we are actually one step ahead of the swamp when it comes to who should have a fair shake in housing. Handicap status or handicapable status or disability status, whatever you want to call it. You say my clients are runners. Now you've activated handicap capable status. Color, you can see that again in these photos. Opportunity, what you do for one, you do for all. And opportunity could also fall into, socioeconomic status. That's where HUD is paying attention right now, because there's so much pressure that's not allowing our workforce housing to have a chance at a house. Religion, my people can walk to their synagogue from this house. Now you've activated religion. Nationality, my people just moved here 5 years ago from India. You've activated nationality. The things that are happening, you'll say things that sound like you're promoting your clients, but what's happening is we're activating fair housing. And the category I'm talking about here are these stupid, ridiculous, inflammatory, problematic love letters. Hear me on this. You guys are probably writing them and or receiving them. Almost every time I have seen one, they are a straight up violation of fair housing. And let me tell you why. In the past, when these things first emerged, the love letter would be used to say, hey, Mr. Seller, we loved your kitchen and how it feeds into the living room, and we can just see ourselves enjoying the house. And it was about the house. That kind of letter is not a violation of fair housing, right? Doesn't activate any of the protected classes. It's just about the property. But the letters have morphed, and you've seen them. My favorite letter that I got was, hey, we are X and Y, and this is our 5 kids, and we were going to have another one, but we had to go through IVF, and we went through 5 rounds, and we don't have any down payment money because we spent all our money on IVF. And I'm sitting here going, oh my God, stop. And then they said, and our favorite scripture is Y. And so we felt like we wanted to share that with you. And then here's a picture of us, and here's a picture of us hiking, and here's another picture at the holidays. And I was like, oh my God, this is so insane, because it activated like all the protected classes. And you're thinking, but Leigh, I'm just like personalizing the offer. Understand this. All humans, because we're human, we have implicit biases. We have subconscious biases. You, as a buyer agent, you think that you're helping your buyers, but what if, let's just say, what if the seller on the other side or the seller's agent on the other side have these implicit subconscious biases? And then they get this letter and they say, I ain't selling to them. Why? I don't like them. Why don't you like them? Because of X, Y, and Z. You see where you're at here? Y'all, this is a massive, massive thing with HUD right now. Massive. They are watching these love letters because these love letters are insane. And in some markets, we're seeing people put videos of their clients in front of the seller. So, Scenario, you are asking the good questions here. And I'm sorry if I keep saying your name wrong, but that's just how it looks in my head. Somebody gonna tell me the right way to say it.
It's okay, Zenaida. It's okay.
Zenaida. Oh, that's even prettier. It's almost got a French sound to it, Zenaida. Okay, so if the buyer writes the letter and the buyer agent submits it and the seller kicks it out because of a protected class, you're all going to be in trouble with HUD, right? Because you don't know who's on the other side seeing it. Okay. And the question I ask my buyers is this: if I submit this letter and your offer is perfect, except the seller kicks it out, you don't know if it's because of your terms or because of you. And in this country, with the way we have built our systems and our laws, if there's anything we know right now, it is that we've got to pay a better focus to make sure all of our neighbors have a chance to get into housing, because housing is generational wealth. If your clients lose because of who they are, you don't want to be a part of that. I can't fix who the seller is and who the seller's agent is and what they're saying to each other, but I can make daggum sure that my people aren't losing because of protected class. Y'all, we have to think about this very carefully. I have agents that push back and they say, if I'm the buyer agent and I'm just submitting it, I'm not at fault. Understand something, HUD is a federal agency. And if somebody feels like they're discriminated against, who's going to get taken down? Everybody's going to get, and Janice, I'm bringing that up in 1 second. Way to think ahead. This is a real problem. And the seller's agent who submits it to the seller, you could also be in that lineup. What we call it, Bill Gallagher calls it the sue me line in Raleigh, and everybody's going to be in it. So here's what I'm doing to be proactive. I'm showing my sellers some of these bad letters at the time of the listing appointment, and I explain to them why we're not going to fool with them, that we are looking for the best terms possible based on what they want. And my job as their agent is to take the emotion out. Buyer agents are trying to put emotion in. I'm here to absorb it so that they can focus on the best terms possible based on what their needs are. So my sellers will say, the hell yeah, that's right. We don't want to be involved in a fair housing violation either, because I attract amazing people. And then I put in the MLS in agent remarks, don't submit a buyer love letter because I will strip it. I make it very clear from the get-go, don't send that mess over to me. Because even if it's referenced as attached, and Pat makes a very good point here, the real estate commission says you don't have to present them unless it's referenced as attached. If the seller has stated prior to the writing of the offer that they won't consider love letters, then that gives you the ability to pull it out. because it's not got anything to do with the terms of that offer. But you want to set this up as being from the seller and being in front of everybody. So again, what you do for one, you do for all. Y'all, this is a real problem. And I'm going to tell you, I can't tell you enough. HUD is spending money to find these issues. And Kitty's asking, the seller could discriminate. They actually can't decide however they wish. And so a seller can't say, they're going to be in violation too if they're discriminating. Just know this, if you're the agent, if the seller's making the decision, if you as the agent say, but it was the seller's decision, you're not going to be off the hook. You got to be aware, guys, we're in such an interesting time right now where everything is under a microscope. You've got to think about this in a way that is going to protect you and your clients. And whoever is unmuted, if you would do me the love bug favor of muting back, there you go. Thank you. So whoever is unmuted. There we go. Thank you for muting for me. All right. So Janice asks a wonderful question. All right. So yes, Kitty, the seller's not systematically discriminating. I get that. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to matter what we think and what is going to be in one spot or the other. I'm telling you, HUD is funding testing for love letters. I can't say this explicitly enough. There's not going to be an out. Are y'all with me on this? If you didn't read the Newsday article from 2019 of the Long Island Board of Realtors and all the fair housing things that they uncovered after a 3-year examination period, you need to go read it. More importantly, watch the New York State Senate investigation of the Newsday report that happened afterward. That video will make your stomach hurt because a lot of those agents that got busted during the testing period did not see what they had done wrong and did not change what they had done wrong. And those New York State senators, you could watch them get redder and redder in the face. So there are new regulations coming down in New York. I'm just telling y'all, you got to figure this out and figure it out fast. You with me on this? Do y'all read what comes out of Washington, D.C.? Because I read it all. I'm a big old nerd. In December, when CARES Act Part 2 got approved, there was $78 million for HUD in there. So I reached out to a buddy of mine and I said, hey, what's that money for? And he said, it's testing. The first fine is $50,000. 50. I don't have that kind of price point. Some of y'all might. If you work the Governor's Club, you make more money than I do, but it still ain't enough for that to be your fine. And you know that in HUD's eyes, you're guilty until proven innocent. Y'all understand what I'm saying here? Fix this now. So I'll point something else out to you here. When a list agent tells me that they want a love letter, I'm going to show y'all the example that I use, okay? And I'm explaining to agents all the time that they're needing to pay attention to this. I can't stress this enough. This hasn't come down yet from HUD, but NAR has now put out guidance about love letters. It's coming. Y'all have the opportunity to lead the way. So now there's a wonderful point here about last names. When I'm presenting offers, I black the name off the offer. I black the name off the pre-approval letter. I send everything over to my seller plus the spreadsheet, which is offer 1, offer 2, offer 3, offer 4. Why do I take the names off? I take the names off because not just that the name could reveal something about the buyer's ethnicity or one of the protected classes, but because I know what my sellers are going to do. They're going to go Facebook and Google these people and LinkedIn and see who they are. And then they're going to start to decide who they want. Y'all, our job as professional realtors is to help our sellers sell their houses. And when they engage us for what? For terms, right? They say, I want this kind of price, this kind of time frame. And then when it comes down to picking a buyer, they shouldn't be picking it based on who I like and who I don't like. Y'all understand how this contributes to systematic problems with home ownership, right? Because there are people out there that don't like other people for whatever reason. They just, they hadn't found the Lord yet, I guess. And so you can take the name out. I black it out of the offer. So it's a full offer minus a name. The seller selects an offer based on terms. Of course, then they see the name when it comes down to signing the negotiated selection, but that's going to remove that risk. You can always call the legal hotline and make sure that you're cool with this. Talk to your broker about this. but this is with seller permission. Y'all, it's the main way you can get hired right now. Think about it. You go to a listing presentation, you're up against 5 agents. What if you're the one agent that's in there and says, this is how I conduct my business? And you start to elevate what people think about how realtors behave. Kitty, I cover it up. I cover up the signature on the offer. You can cover it up. It's there, right? And I'm not hiding or changing anything. I'm protecting them from implicit subconscious bias. I'm asking y'all to look at this entirely differently right now. I know that I am, but I'm telling y'all, if there's a hill I'm willing to die on, it's the fair housing hill. Because currently we have a home ownership gap of 20% between the African American population and the average home ownership rate. I don't find that to be acceptable. 20 points. And you've got to realize that y'all may be, free-minded thinkers, but you may have clients that seem to be great thinkers, and then somewhere in the back of their head, something triggered. We've got to find a way to move everybody forward. Let's see, the listing agent knows I have a signed offer. I mean, it's signed. It's going to have like the DocuSign date on it and everything. You can figure this out. I'm just going to suggest to y'all, figure it out. You can put like a little Post-it note over it. I go over all of this with my sellers at the time of the listing appointment. This is how we're going to have to do this to protect all of us from fair housing violations, whether accidental or intentional. Does that make sense? Yes, and Jay is 100% right. Everything I do, what you do for one, you do for all. It's every listing, and in every listing consultation, I mean, all of my sellers are going to do what I say, because I'm going to tell y'all something. If I tell my sellers we're going to do it this way to stay in front of fair housing and they don't want to, I don't want them as clients. Let me be real clear with you. You don't have to take every asshole as your client. Some people need to move along to some other agent, because I have worked very hard to develop a brand of integrity and ethics in the market. And if a seller's not going to work with me on really being aggressive in front of fair housing and in front of being the most transparent possible, then I don't want them in my business. Do y'all understand that? I will give up dollars to not work with somebody who's going to cause my name to get dragged into the mud. Ain't doing it. And I tell my buyers this when I'm writing offers. You'll hear about these love letters out there. You'll hear agents brag about it. Let me tell you why we're not doing it. I'm going to help you win, but we're not going to do it by playing games with fair housing or emotion. Not doing it. So let's see. Could the buyer agent remove the last name at the time of offer, then update the name if the offer is accepted? They totally could. I mean, the pre-approval letter is coming anyway, right? So the names are going to be on there, and you could have your finance person help you with this. Let me see if I caught that up. So this might be a great question to ask Whitney when you call somebody. If I call your lender, can you prepare for me a pre-approval letter minus the name? And most of my lenders, all of my preferred lenders on my list, they'll do it. And I'll tell you another hint on that. The love letter that you send can be different than what you thought, right? It doesn't have to be about the buyer's emotional woo-woo. It can be a letter about the lender. What if you turn your pre-approval letter into more than just they're pre-approved for X dollars on X date? My lenders are doing for me a more specific pre-approval letter. And it's pretty interesting that, and by the way, when I'm talking about this, the offers are signed, right? This is me as a listing agent covering it up. As a buyer agent, I'm not covering it up, sending it to the listing agent. I can't do that. I can only control the listing side on my end, but I'm not sending a buyer love letter. Oh, I should also point out to y'all that if you want to talk about being a better proponent of fair housing, these are your assets that are provided by the National Association of Realtors. The link right there on your screen is where you can pull these down. My suggestion is you pepper these into your social media on occasion. What if you let people know that you are not the kind of realtor that puts up with that foolishness, and you are going to be elevated amongst your peers? What if you're the realtor that says, I am committed to being so far ahead of the game that I wish to heavens somebody would press me to go further? And the middle graphic is my favorite. That's why it's in the middle. There's all three available to you, though. So take those down and use them, y'all. I mean, they're included for you as a member of the association. So just pipe it into your social media here and there. It don't have to be nonstop, but occasionally spread the word. So this is the other letter that I send. Because I told y'all I'm all about solutions, right? I'm stepping on your toes about the buyer love letters because y'all know in your heart of hearts you've gone too far in your love letters, and some of your ones you've received have too, right? So here's a different way to approach it. Send a letter from you, the buyer's agent. And this is one that I sent with an offer, and I told him what was included in the email, the offer to purchase, the pre-approval letter with my lender's cell phone number, all the executed disclosures. And then I told him, I get it, sucks to be you trying to pick an offer, but I'd tell him who my closing manager is and what we're committed to. We're committed to full communication, transparency, ready to help a busy listing agent. We're dedicated to deadlines. This is a different way to approach it, and this is helping me a ton because y'all have, and by the way, anybody wants a copy of this, I'm going to make it available to you, so don't stress out here. See, oh, look at Whitney being like a super helpful person right here in the chat. She can leave off the name in a pre-approval letter and she'll talk to the listing agent. High five, Whitney. Y'all should ask this of anybody that's on your pre-approved lender list. Make sure they're on the same page with you. I will tell you real quick, my lenders had better be as committed to fair housing as I am, or they ain't on my list. And I go down this road a lot with the low credit score buyers. If I have a lender that's going to put them on a bot, they're not my lender anymore. You got to personally call people and guide them so that they can get the help that they need when they want it. But anyway, back to my buyer agent love letter. I get a great response from this because y'all know that some of the listings in the market are being obtained by clueless agents or hobby agents who sell one house every 5 years, and they're not really sure how to get things all the way through, or they've got all these offers and they don't know how to go to the next step. Maybe they're inexperienced, or maybe they're just overworked, or maybe they're working a full-time job. I'm giving them an opportunity here to see that I'm going to help them. Because for a lot of y'all, you're used to carrying the whole transaction anyway, right? We've been carrying both sides for years because the other agent gets a little lost in the shuffle. I'm just telling them, pick me, the agent, and my clients, and I'll make sure they behave. So anybody that wants a copy of this letter, I am glad to make it available to you so you can doctor it up in your version. But you see what we're going after here? We're differentiating without getting into protected classes. It's kind of the way it should have been all along. And one other little tidbit for me that's helping on my pre-approval letters, and Whitney, you can totally steal this, friend. It's your gift for being a sponsor today. I'm having my lender put the dates on there. Pulled credit on 2/12, verified employment on 2/12, got the tax returns on 2/14, so that they're really specific as to how current that pre-approval letter is. Because as a listing agent, I don't know about y'all, but I have received letters in the past from Wachovia, and I'm like, look, Wachovia has been gone for some several years, and so please don't bring me any more old, out-of-date letters. But you don't know how current it is, and we're in the second part of the COVID era when we have people getting furloughed, laid off, and you've got hours that have gone sideways. I want to know that the pre-approval letter is current. Well, this is helping my buyers win. Think about everything that you're doing, y'all, in this really frustrating time, how you elevate up and beyond to help your buyers win, but you're also helping the other agent win. One of my agent friends in Alabama, she said to me, the way my business changed was when I realized that my competitors were not actually my competitors, but that they're my best asset in real estate. And I said, damn, all of us need to think about it that way, that in this space, as y'all look around the Zoom screen today, are you taking note of who's here? Because that's your best assets in real estate. The ones that aren't here, well, maybe they were busy, maybe they forgot, maybe they couldn't log in because we ran out of space. But you want to always elevate better and better competitors, because that makes life easier for our buyers and our sellers, and it makes our business different. So this allows me to help elevate my competitors into better people. I want to help them get across the finish line. And then if they don't survive in the business, it's okay. Nobody got screwed in the process. This is how we have to think about it. So again, that's a couple of things there. And I was going to mention to y'all as well, that was just the only little slides I had because I knew we had to have some time for Q&A. I'm also sending a thank you note to everybody who brings me an offer on my listings. It includes a $5 Starbucks card. Why do I do that? Because as y'all are experiencing, the winning offer quite often right now is dropping out because they get the buyer's remorse of, I got wrapped up in the bidding war, I don't want it. I want to have great communications with all of the losing offers so that when I go back to them and say, hey, buyer one crapped out, they're not angry at me. And too often, as y'all know, you're submitting offers that are never acknowledged. You don't know that it got presented. You don't know where you were in the process until you saw it crop up in the MLS. And so you be one step above and start showing a different way to do things. And I'd also point out, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about a week and a half ago. I don't know if y'all saw it, about buyer remorse from people who bought during the pandemic frenzy and now they regret it. I'm sending that to my buyer suspects. I've sent it to all of them and said, y'all need to read this and know when we get into this, we're going to make as rational a decision as we can, but you may feel this feeling later. So if this gives you pause, then let's pause right now. Because I don't know about y'all, but there are some of my buyers that probably need to pause for a minute, and some of them that need to forge ahead, because we are going to see things continue to change. Candy, that is a fantastic question. She's asking, at what point how do we counsel the buyers when the offers are getting overvalued? So this is part of why I want to send that article to my buyers. Hey, pay attention to buyer remorse, because they're asking us to run comps. And then you're like me, you're like, okay, but it's not going to do us any good because comps don't mean squat right now, right? That's what it feels like, because you're having to bid above comps to win. So my counsel to buyers is this: how much extra cash do you have that you could make up a difference between offer price and appraisal? And if you don't have any extra cash, then we might be shopping in the wrong price range. We might not be in a place where we can win, because we're seeing this scenario crop up all the time of a gap, because it depends on which appraiser you get. So I'm talking to them about the risks that they're walking into, the risk of losing their due diligence money. And yes, you're going to get to inspect it. Is the buyer going to say yes to repairs? Highly unlikely right now. And so you're basically paying for a to-do list. But I still think you should get the to-do list, because you need to know what you're buying here. We're going to pay for the appraisal, but you're basically going into a blind scenario where if the appraiser believes in the escalating market, it may appraise. If the appraiser is feeling nervous about the escalating market, it may not appraise. This is where you've got to be thinking about every buyer, pros and cons of everything you're seeing, guys. About the due diligence money, that's the best way to win, right? Doing extra due diligence money above the market, that's extra risk to your buyers. Talk to them, find out how much they want to get into the market. For some people, this is where we have to be bold as realtors. For some people, you might say, you know what? This market's really uncertain. You're not full of cash. It could be that you need to wait for the market to take a hiccup. And I don't know if that's in a year, 2 years, or 5 years, or it never happens again, but it will happen at some point because markets are cyclical. But right now, with your inability to come up with any cash, I don't know that we can win right now. I don't lie to people, y'all. And I can't make something happen. I don't like it. I'll point that out to you right now. There's nothing I want more than a normal market where we have equal buyers and sellers and we're back to playing tennis again, instead of this market where the sellers have complete control and cash buyers are everything and our VA and FHA aren't winning. It bothers me on so many levels, but I call myself a mama hen, and I tell my buyers this. I'm like, here's our scenario. You're pre-approved for 400. Well, if you're pre-approved for 400, then we need to stop shopping at about 370. So we have room to bid and win. I'm not going to show you anything at your top price point because you won't get something for ask price right now. It's just not going to happen. I got to be as upfront with them as I can. Now, knowing that interest rates are moving up a little bit, but they're still the cheapest money ever. And so you've also got to help your buyers keep perspective. Rents are going to continue to go up just as property values continue to go up. We have buyers that are saying, should I wait in case I get student loan forgiveness? I don't know. It's up to you. Should I wait until this $15,000 down payment assistance? And I'm not going to lie to y'all, that's proof that the people in DC can't do math, because if you're going to give a $15,000 down payment credit, you're increasing demand, which increases prices. And we don't need demand right now. We need supply. Full disclosure, what I'd like to see them do in DC is take that 15 grand and make it a tax credit to builders who build in the lowest 25% of any area. Give us something to sell instead of money for people who can't win right now anyway, but that's a different discussion.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I'm an appraiser. My name's Reg Morgan.
Oh, you're not.
I'm reviewing an appraisal, the underwriter sent something back. This is just what you said. And then the underwriter said, the appraised value is not bracketed by the unadjusted closed sale price of all provided comparable sales and listings. Please confirm the appraiser's opinion of value is accurate and adequately supported by the provided sales and listings. Yeah. So that's just what you said, is the appraiser going to follow the market or whatever? And, I've seen some just wacky offers because I see the underpinnings of all these offers. And so I just do what I've done for years and years and years. And if it comes out, it comes out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But my question is, like, my comparables are in this, let's say, COVID-19 market. So when's this over? We just went to lunch in Carborough, and it's kind of rolled up. There's few things open, and when all this comes back and rates do go up, where are we? So that's just a question out for everyone. But I've appraised a lot of properties for all of you people that are on the list here, and my clients on the list. So it's just a tough choice. You look at these things. I had somebody call me up the other day and said, it didn't come out. And he said, why didn't it come out? And I said, this, that, and the other. And, it's kind of interesting to me. And lots of times it does come out, these offers 50 grand over list, but then you look at the sales that I have to use, it works. But, I'm using sales that have been going up at this insane rate. So anyway, I've gone through a lot of recessions in my career. The RTC, if anybody knows what that is. Anyway, I got the text from my wife to shut up. So thanks. Bye.
Reg, we appreciate you. And it does give me a point to make to y'all. As realtors, we need to stop making everything the appraiser's fault. I'm tired of realtors that say it didn't appraise, the appraiser sucks. Appraisers are part of our family too. And they're under strict guidelines from Fannie and Freddie. They get audited. They've got to abide by fair housing too. They're under a lot of scrutiny. So it doesn't help when realtors start blaming people. There's no blame to go around here. We're in a weird market. So you all need to be kinder to your appraisers and call and ask questions, because something I'll tell you is that as we look at the modernization of the GSEs, that's Fannie and Freddie, one of the things that's being pushed for is more AVMs. I don't want AVMs in the market. I want a real appraiser in the house who knows how to measure a cantilever and who knows how to look at condition and upgrades in a way that an AVM can never do. I don't want more bots in my life. I like humans. So take care of our human appraisers and ask questions. If a number's off, call and ask and say, can you explain this to me, instead of the approach, right? So the approach is always going to be what gets you the results, right? Your grandmother told you what mine did. You catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. But how many realtors call and scream at an appraiser? How dare you miss this? And this is wrong, blah, 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 blah. Instead of, hey, I don't understand. Can you help me here? Because I've got to explain this to my clients. The approach is what's going to get you a better response, because if you do have a different comp, maybe there was a for sale by owner that you knew about that they missed in the tax records and you can provide the data point, you could help the scenario instead of being a nasty pants. So please just don't be nasty to our appraisers or to each other. Let's see, Whitney makes a great point here about property inspection waivers. We are seeing that come through on a lot of our FHA and VA properties. If they can get into the ballpark, they will. So there's no guarantee on that, but this is talk to your lender. And when you know that you could get one based on the age, location, and some of the information on a house, make that part of your presentation to the seller, because sellers do have hearts, right? You've all seen the seller who would rather have a veteran get the house and they're glad to see a VA offer. That's not protected class, right? That's just saying, hey, this is a VA buyer. If you're FHA, they tend to be first-time buyers who are putting their life together. Great. This is the first-time buyer putting their life together. That's not protected class. So listen to me on the love letters. You can still talk about the strength of the offer. Just stay out of fresh corn all the time. And talk about the lender, talk about the money, talk about you as an agent, what you can bring to the table. And Whitney makes another great point. You are so good over here with your information, y'all. She's like on this. I love her so much. She says this is why you want to think about a local lender who's got local appraisers. The AMCs are the appraisal management companies. They are the plague of humanity, and they came into effect in 2009 with the Home Valuation Code of Conduct, which is one of the worst pieces of legislation ever to get passed. Why did it get passed? Because it didn't get stopped in offense. We have to play offense as realtors and as mortgage lenders. They rely on us because they don't have a strong political advocacy program like the realtors do. But the AMCs have too much power, and AMCs like automated valuation models at AVM. Local lenders like local appraisers that they eat lunch with, and they can call and say, hey, I don't understand this, answer a question for me. And that's what helps your clients, is when neighbors help neighbors. You are a micro entrepreneur as a realtor. It's your responsibility to know your lender, who is also a micro entrepreneur, and to know your appraiser, who is also a micro entrepreneur, and your inspector and your surveyor, and that you can develop this team that says, when you bring that offer to the other agent, my whole team is ready. My whole team lives here in Pittsburgh, Carrboro, Chapel 3. We are ready to work on this and make this a win for everybody. That elevates the situation. It doesn't mean you're going to win every time, because you got buyers that won't agree every time to what they might have to do to win, but that's okay too. And I'll tell you, as a realtor, make sure that you're getting in writing, right? So I tell my agents in my office, they need to have a journal every day of every phone call they're making and all the conversations they're having, because this is our CYA, where they're talking to buyers. This was an option. This is an option. Your sellers, this is an option. This is an option, to where they know they're getting the full picture. Because friends, you want to protect your business for the future. Do something that apps won't do, hedge funds won't do, websites won't do, and nobody will do except you, the neighbor, who is looking out for your neighbor's best interest. Stop calling people leads, call them neighbors. If we started to think about our future business as the people that walk down the street across from us, walk the dog, say hey to us in the pickup line at school, we'd change our businesses. We've let it get too cold and too texty and not neighbory enough. And if there's anything we learned in COVID, is that neighbors matter. Let's see, what else did y'all have over here? Oh, Bonnie's asking about things like Ribbon or OfferPad or Open Door, or any of those options that give your buyers the cash in hand to make an offer. They know the house is sold. I think that strengthens your offer, right? So it's just about knowing what options are available in your market and be open to it. I have a buyer client. I'd love to have listed their house, but they got a number from one of the sites that was the exact same that I gave them in our comp scenario. I'm not going to fight with them about that. I'm going to help them get in their next house. Pick and choose your battles. You're not going to win everything. Sometimes I'm going to give up the dollar on one transaction to get a win on another one, because these are people that will continue to spread my name in the marketplace. I need them to be advocates for me as much as I'm an advocate for them. Let's see, I'm supposed to remind y'all that we have Realtor Roundtable No Chasers, giving it to you straight on March 4th at 10 o'clock. So y'all should mark your calendars for whatever day March 4th is. That's 2 weeks next week. March is next week.
It's next week, and I want to interrupt for a moment because a lot of you have questions that maybe you haven't had answered. And I see by the time that we really are, you know, we are at our point where we've got to stop. But I think that this conversation can continue, and we will certainly give you that opportunity to have an informal, interactive conversation next week. So please sign up for Realtor Roundtable.
And thank you thank you to staff for putting this together. Thank you to leadership for leading by Zoom, when I know you'd much rather be having this in person where we could all hug each other's necks. So thank you for persevering until we hit that place of critical mass where we can be done with all of this separated foolishness, which is killing us all slowly. But that's okay, because we've got NAR coming up in San Diego in November, and I can't wait. President's Circle has been moved to June in Marco Island, Florida, and I'm super excited for that. And let's see, I think we've got all the questions in the chat. Did you have anything else on your end, Jessica, that you received by text?
No, but again, Ashley's been keeping record as well, and we're going to handle all of those questions. We'll make sure that we talk about that next week at Realtor Roundtable. Leigh, I want to extend my utmost thanks to you. This was not only very, very informative and important, but very entertaining as always. And so we do all thank you very, very much. And thank you again to our sponsors. And members, I want to remind you that in March, we also have a really awesome session featuring North Carolina Real Estate Commission on, and they'll be guiding us through how to stay off that back page of the real estate bulletin. So with that, I'm going to again say thank you to all of you for your time today. And I wish you a very, very successful spring market. Please, let's keep this conversation going.
And by the way, I'll ask I forgot to tell y'all where to get that buyer agent love letter if you want to take mine and do R&D. Y'all know what R&D is, right? Rip off and duplicate. It's at lee.club is the domain. That's where all my clubhouse stuff goes. lee.club. Take it down, and it's in DOC format. Just figure out your own version of it. And yes, Kitty, on my team in my office, no letters from any of my buyer agents. It's a company policy. We are very, very hardcore on this. I'm not playing with fair housing.
What I meant was, are you telling everybody when you're the listing agent that you will not accept any love letters?
Yep, that's what I said. I put it in the agent remarks in MLS, and
Okay.
with permission, I do it right up front.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you all. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Stay safe.